All right, I've got 5 o'clock. We're going to call this work session Enterprise City Council to order. Let the record show that all council members are present. So, council, you should have an agenda for the work session in the smaller folder. First item on there is our quarterly goals update. I think Barry's going to update us on his items.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I was asked to step in for Jonathan for this update. In your goals, we've got begin work on the comprehensive plan. That has been started. The work session planning commission board of adjustment packets to be online. That is complete. Recreation, the center with the pool drawings, 60% complete. You're gonna get that presentation in a few minutes. So that is complete. Expand the waterboard. That is complete. The other items that are on your list, they are all have begun, and we don't see any reasons why we won't complete your goals on the timeline that you've outlined.
All right. Any questions from the council on these items? All right. Thank you, Barry.
Yes, sir.
All right, council. Let's go ahead and review the agenda for our regular meeting. As you all should be aware, there was a small change. The waterboard items, as you all know, were removed and were pushed to the next meeting, which we'll discuss that later in the work session. But other than that, Beverly, this is the same, other than those 3 deletions. Okay. So, anything you want to discuss on the consent agenda? We've got the minutes, the contract billings of Wiregrass Construction and Poly for the repave project, and our the Roundabout, which I think we're getting an update on that tonight, right? Yeah, that's fine. They're here, so we'll then 3 Notch Partners, the TAP project, and our government services contract with Fine Getty. Then the mayor is going to have a proclamation for National Police and EMS Week, Extra Mile Award, and a permit request from John's Chapel, and the privilege of floor and staff reports. So we've only got a few items of no old business, only a few items of new business. So Chief, you want to tell us about the police cars, or is that which one of y'all wants to tell us about those? Yeah, I think you and I discussed this, didn't we? Is this what you and I discussed last week?
We discussed it in
okay.
Session.
All right.
Just simply that nobody has vehicles. I talked to Mr. Sherling. There's no way that he could bid on them because he just cannot get them either. I said, well, what if you were to purchase them and then do a swap? He said nobody's doing that in the nation right now because nobody can get cars. The 2 companies I've talked to, this guy that I talked to right outside Atlanta said that he had purchased them back in November of last year, hoping that it would turn out really well for him. Apparently it did, because the same time that I requested, at the time I requested 5 and I cut it down to 2, he was begging me to release them all so he can sell them immediately. We talked about it and he let me keep 2 of the 3, but he's already sold the other 3. So it's just that thing. We're just trying to do what we can to get those cars. So.
Ryan, are you comfortable that this is sufficient? Any questions on why we're doing this? I think everybody should understand by now. So, in other words, if we don't do this, we're not going to get any cars.
It would be very difficult to get any cars, and yes, sir. I need to get at least 2 of those cars, so I'm not behind. And next year, have to buy 4 cars, and next year after that, have to buy more cars and whatever else.
It's a little over $35,000 each for these SUVs. That's a good market price.
Yes, sir. They actually honored Alabama State bid too, so they just looked at the Alabama State bid and said, "This is the price of it," and that's the same with us. So.
Okay.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. Thank you.
All right.
All right. So the next item on here is to authorize the mayor to execute an assignment of the ground lease and estoppel letter to real property the city currently leases to Brightwater Aviation Properties LLC, where Arista Aviation is located. So we discussed this last meeting in executive session because it was surrounding real estate negotiations. Any Rainer, you got anything to update it?
Y'all remember, Brightwater Aviation has already paid off the city.
Yeah.
Which we were glad that that happened. So this is just an assignment of the ground lease, to, I believe, SCP Enterprise LLC from Brightwater. We don't have any issues on the legal side because they have already fulfilled what they were supposed to do and pay the city back. So we feel like this is in order. If we could, I think it's put on there to make it subject to final draft approval by the mayor and city administrator and maybe myself too.
It says contingent upon final review and approval of documents by mayor, city administrator, and city
We
attorney.
just have to verify a couple of more things in the letter, make sure that's in order, and but there shouldn't be any material difference to what you have.
Yeah. So in layman's term, I guess mostly for the benefit of the public, we've got a aviation maintenance company, Arista, that's currently under lease through the company Brightwater, same or similar, but common ownership between those companies.
That's right.
And they want us to assign the lease to basically a property management company. Right?
Consent to the assignment of the lease to that company.
Yeah.
And yes, it has to do with originally, when Arista was established, the city granted some incentives, including a long-term ground lease at the airport, and contingent upon Brightwater paying the city several $1 million. That has been done. And so everything, shouldn't say this, everything is worked out well, and we believe will continue to.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions? All right. Then the next item is to authorize the mayor to execute a memorandum of agreement between the city and Main Street, Alabama, for the city's participation in the Main Street program. So, Billy, why don't you update us on this?
Yes, sir. Sorry that Mariah couldn't be here for this. She's at a conference. But this is just a yearly contract MOA that we have between the city and Main Street of Alabama. In this contract, nothing has changed from even previous years, so it's all the same. It's just that something we have to do annually, and so that's what it's here for your approval.
So just keep on keeping on.
That's right.
No
Just
changes.
No changes at all.
Any questions of Billy? All right, thank you. Then we will go into the mayor's report and council member comments. Does anybody have any additions? Everybody good with the agenda as discussed, as submitted? Should be a departure from our last several meetings and should be a pretty quick regular meeting. All right, so next item on our agenda is Waterboard Nominees. So as discussed, because of the expansion of the Waterboard, we've created two new slots. We'll call those seat 4 and seat 5, and then seat 1 will be vacant, so it's up for nomination. So according to our previous schedule of agreement, seat 1 was my slot to come up with a nomination for. I'm nominating Andy Shelton. I've already distributed his volunteer form to each of you in receipt of that. So Andy Shelton is my nominee. Scotty, seat 4 is yours.
Yes, sir, and it's Warren Bowron, and the volunteer support form's on file.
Yeah, everybody should have a copy of that.
Yes,
also.
Mm-hmm.
Sonia.
My nominee is Anthony Britt. I just received his volunteer form late this evening. I'll email it thing tonight.
All right, yeah, please get that to us. So if everybody's okay, what we'll do is we'll have Beverly put those 3 seats up for nomination and appointment at the first meeting in June. Everybody good with that? All right. Next item, just real quick, it's everybody, a little housekeeping. Everybody okay going to our normal summer routine of casual at the council meetings?
City shirts.
Yes, city shirts. So, all right, now we are, Mr. Mott, you've got some presentations for us.
I do. If you give me 1 minute, I'm gonna bring the project. We've got these set up for us. So give me just 1 second.
All right.
Testing. So I want to try something a little bit different this week. We did a presentation last week, and I think it was a little difficult for y'all to see the presentation as well as the audience. So we want to try a little bit different configuration tonight. I hope this works out. Something we can roll in place. You're seeing a mirror of what the audience sees here.
That's great. And I see we finally got a microphone that's wired into the system, a wireless microphone.
We do. I had to unplug Beverly to borrow this, so I apologize.
So my request would be for now on, whenever a member of the staff, if you're just gonna keep a microphone back there, if somebody needs to stand up with a quick answer, let's speak into that, because we do often get complaints that people online cannot hear. It's also helpful if I need to go back and review something, and somebody goes back and you can't hear when
online you can't
I
hear.
asked for that a while ago. Some of that we finally got.
Yes, sir. Glad to do it. So the first one we want to do, we have 2 updates for you for 2 projects tonight. The first one's on the Roundabout. As you know, this is an ALDOT project. It's in the city limits, but ALDOT provided the funding, construction funding for this project. We have a consultant, CDG, and TJ's here from CDG. I'm going to turn the microphone over to him. He's going to walk you through where we are on the projects, and he has a short animation to walk you through. So, TJ.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Again, I'm TJ Kelly with CDG. I guess a quick history, rewind back to a few years ago, ALDOT actually identified this intersection, that State Route 27 and Shellfield Road, as an unsafe intersection. So the wheels started turning, and planning began, and fast forward a couple years ago, a couple years ago, we I guess y'all tasked us with submitting an A-Trip application for funding, as Barry said. The funding was about $4 million total, which is about the construction costs, and that will cover the construction costs. And y'all hired us and committed to paying the actual professional engineer design fees. With that said, I already got the project schedule pulled up. That's good there, Barry. Just wanted to, as Barry said, just kind of tell you where we are, or where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. After the project funding was allotted, we actually went through a conceptual layout phase. We submitted 4 or 5 different layouts to ALDOT to try to get their approval and try to go through and make sure it functioned well. And so once a layout was approved, we actually had to submit to the Federal Highway Administration to get their approval as well. So from that point, when they actually got their approval, we were allowed to begin the actual design, full-fledged design. So we went through ALDOT's checklist of different plan submittals, started with 30% and a 60% plan submittal. You can see currently we are sitting at a PS&E plan submittal. And all these plan submittals are part of their checklist and making sure they're reviewing the plans as we're sending them in and everything.
Push the microphone down.
You get
Push the microphone down. It's right. Thank you.
as we're submitting the plans, they're reviewing and giving us feedback of, okay, this looks good, or move on to the next step. So, you know, as of right now, we have a submittal date for the PS&E plan submittal on May the 31st, end of this month. Currently, we have a
TJ, what's PS&E?
plans, specifications, and estimate. Sorry, I'm in the engineer world. We use acronyms way too much, but so it's a full-fledged plans that has all the quantities on it. I guess that's the difference in the formal submittals. So this will have quantities, and then after the PS&E submittal, we'll go through 2 additional ones before we get to the office engineer submittal, and that's in Montgomery, and that's the final approval of the plans. And once we get that, they can authorize the project to go to bid. And so currently, as you can see on this schedule, we have December 2nd of this year is our project letting. Now, we feel this is pretty aggressive schedule, something that we started out with and we've tried to commit to and stay on. And currently, we still are on that schedule, but it's still up to ALDOT. ALDOT currently has this project letting on April 28th of 2023. So it's still up to their discretion. We want to expedite this as quickly, as efficiently as we can. You know, try to get to construction as soon as possible. But so we're going to do everything we can on our part and make sure that happens. But again, it's up to ALDOT if they want to keep that December letting. We're really going to try to push that. But with that said, the actual construction, it takes about 6 to 8 weeks to go through the project procurement after the letting is that the project's let. So getting all the contract documents in line for construction to begin. So at the earliest, if this schedule is still good, if it actually lets in December, we're looking at a March 2023 construction start. If it goes about, if ALDOT keeps it on April 28th, then probably about June of 23 before construction actually begins. So, with that said, I purposely skipped over the public involvement meeting to save it for last because that's actually coming up on June the 9th. We have scheduled this meeting at the Farmers Market here in Enterprise from 5 to 7 p.m. We will have ALDOT representatives will be there, CDD representatives as well, and anybody from the city that would like to be there. It's a very informal meeting. We'll have tables set up with different renderings and animations going on for the public to walk through, kind of look at everything and see how the actual project functions or the intersection functions. If they have any questions, we're there to answer them. They can ask us or ALDOT or collectively. There will also be a comment box where people can actually leave their comments or any suggestions or any concerns they may have. So after the public involvement meeting, we'll actually sit down with ALDOT and the city and just go over those comments and see if any of them we can address in our design, moving forward. So,
Excuse me, will the farmers market be big enough, Jonathan? It's big interest in this. Is the farmers market going to be big enough for that public involvement meeting?
and I can try to answer that, but so in the past, ALDOT has had these actually in smaller facilities. So it's more like it's not really a sit down this type of meeting. It's a walkthrough, it's just a walkthrough. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's
So people can come and go.
that's right. People can come and go as they want. So there's no microphones to get up and ask questions. There's nothing formal really about it. So it's really just a walkthrough. They can ask questions to any of our representatives there. We'll answer them. And the main thing is, actually leaving comments in the Dropbox. And also, it will be live. ALDOT is handling the actual public involvement meeting, so it's going to be live. I don't know if it's Facebook Live or some type of live audio, live feed, video feed for the public as well, so they can join in from home if they want to. So,
How will that be advertised?
3 weeks it started. I guess last week. Like I said, ALDOT's handling that, but it's already gone through. I think it had to be at least a minimum of 3 weeks of advertising. So ALDOT's already started running that. I'm not sure what papers it's in, but I know they're handling that, and it's already started.
Can we make sure to get that on city social media?
Yeah.
What time did you say that meeting was?
5 o'clock, 5 to 7 p.m. Yeah. So, well, I got one more.
So one thing we wanted to do is to have this tonight. The reason we wanted to push over the 60% tonight is to get this word out as quick as we could about the public involvement meeting on top of what ALDOT's advertising, and we will get it out on city social media as well. But that was another purpose for having it tonight. So
one of the few things we'll have at this public involvement meeting is a rendering like this. This is just one of a few that we'll have. This is just a 2D aerial view with our new roundabout shown over the current intersection. Just to give just a layout and show everybody, how it's going to look. But again, this is just a 2D portion. We'll have other renderings as well. But the neat thing, well, back to this, and just for the public, this is again at the intersection of State Route 27, which is going north and south, as you see on the screen. North of the roundabout goes to Ozark, south back to Enterprise at the circle. Going to the east is the back entrance to Fort Rooker, and to the west is actually Shellfield Road, which is eventually turns to the south and goes back to the circle here in Enterprise as well. You can see there's the Dollar General on the bottom right of the roundabout. With that said, we'll have a few of these renderings, but we'll also have what we'll show you next is the animations. You can go ahead and play those, Barry. These are more of our 3D conceptuals with traffic showing how it actually operates. This is very beneficial for the public, for everybody, for all of us to see actually how it's going to function once it's constructed. So this is actually 5 videos in one. We'll have a continuous loop during the public involvement meeting. This current view is actually called the bird's eye view, where it's just sitting still, from, I guess, right above the intersection, and it's just watching the traffic. And real quick, the traffic is it's actually a 20-year projection of the traffic. So what we did, we got current ADT out there for 2022. We added the rule of thumb for a 2% annual growth rate compounded annually for 20 years. And so the traffic you're seeing is not a current traffic, but actually more traffic, and it handles it just fine, as you'll see. But that doesn't mean this is going to be actual traffic 20 years from now. But it could be the same as today, but that's just a projection. So we want to make sure we design something that is efficient and will work in the future, not just for now. So with that said, the next video, we have 4 additional ones, and it's all in this loop from each approach to the roundabout. And so this is coming from I guess this is Shellfield Road coming from the south towards the east. And you can see there's a Dollar General over there as well. So again, there's a lot of design aspects into this. There's a concrete islands in the middle, what's called chicane islands. Those are meant to slow down your speed. You can see it kind of curves in and out on each approach. And for that reason is, if we came straight into the roundabout, people, even though the speed limit will be reduced to 25 miles per hour in each direction, people still may, if there's nothing to physically slow them down, we don't want to run it through the actual roundabout. So it's the design itself is meant to slow down traffic, not just by signage, but from the actual geometry. So with that said, this will be playing continuously. And we have one for each direction. Throughout the public involvement meeting, we have the other renderings. So it really just gives a great view for everybody that's there and involved of how the actual roundabout will function, once it's completed construction. So I think that's about all I have. Definitely can answer any questions you may have, about what we got so far, where we're going, schedule, or the public involvement meeting, whatever you want.
Anybody have any questions? That's very helpful.
The 3D is so much more helpful than the 2D. I mean, it's a great view. The 2D does, but this is really just makes it.
Besides the public involvement, is this going to be anywhere where public can see, like on our site or wherever?
That's up to Barry. I think so. I mean, I've given him these renderings. So, it's definitely going to be at the public involvement meeting, but I'd assume that you probably put it up on your website. It's up to you guys.
Very helpful.
So I just want to, TJ's done a great job of getting this together. And one of the things that, public's always concerned about change, especially when it comes to traffic and intersections. If you're not used to a roundabout, the 3D animation was something that they provided as part of their design. And I think that will help, people to see exactly how it functions, how it should function, and how does it work. We want to make sure we had that for you tonight, but this is a sneak peek for what will be shown on June the 9th. But we will get that out so the public can see this as well.
So what are the chances that this is the final design?
Yeah, currently this matches the conceptual layout that we went through ALDOT and FHWA's approval. It absolutely could change, but currently this is what is being designed and what ALDOT's approving and reviewing so far. So there's still a lot of other processes going on, but the one thing I didn't mention was the environmental document, which is a big milestone for this project. Part of the reason we're having a public involvement is for two reasons. One, it's definitely keep the public involved, but it's part of getting that final approval for the environmental document. So just to have the public into it. But currently, this is what ALDOT and FHWA has requested that we design. So, and that's what you're seeing here, the exact design.
And it sounds like you think that construction will begin next summer, sometime
Yeah.
June. What would the duration and
It should last a minimum of a year.
and then
Just
what's
because
traffic going to look like?
Yeah, so the traffic control during the project is still, that has not been designed yet. That's on the next phase. But there's been discussions with ALDOT talking about potentially closing off the Sheffield Road on each side, one at a time. There's gonna be a lot of lane shifts, traffic shifts. Probably build half of the right of way, let traffic keep going north and south, and then flip it over into the other half, build the other half, and let the traffic keep going. So the object is keep traffic moving as safely as possible, and so construction can continue going. And that's one of the reasons it's going to take, a year or a little more, maybe 15 months at the most, probably. To actually build it under traffic is, takes time. You can see the actual interstate semi-tractor trailers this is designed to handle those, and you can see those going through the actual roundabout. That's our main design vehicle that we're required to use during our design process. So we've checked all the wheel paths, and obviously you can see on this, but we actually have other documents we submitted to ALDOT to actually approve and show that it will handle the large vehicles. So, and the inside of the actual roundabout is a mountable curb that, if necessary, if the vehicles, the interstate semi-tractor trailer vehicles can actually mount and use that if necessary. Hopefully they won't have to, but it's possible. It happens. So, but it is mountable.
All right. Anything?
Thank y'all. If you give me 1 minute, I'm gonna transition over. I got one more update for you.
We got
I like the little 3D.
you could.
Look,
Wait,
kind of
man,
the
terrible
like if anybody's kind of curved, you get to see it.
Like the screen too, we're both picking it up.
I like that.
This is great compared to what we were doing at little screen.
No, this is
I like
much
it's
needed.
trendy.
We've got plenty of time.
Just making sure you see this. The second project update I want to do for you tonight was on our Q2 goals, the 60% drawings for the rec center. So we're working with CC Litchfield and their team of consultants to put this project together. They have submitted to us last week their 60% drawings. So I asked them to come tonight and to do as well an update for you for 60%. And they've also got a short animation too that he'll walk through. But with that, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Raleigh with CC Litchfield.
Thanks, Barry. Like Barry said, this is our 60% submittal for the new Recreation and Aquatic Center. What you see right here on the site currently, this would be the existing conditions. Just to orient you, of course, you see the large baseball fields in the top left corner there. And then the rectangular space just to the bottom right of those baseball fields, That would be the Moose Hope Gymnasium as it stands right now. Keep your eye on that as we move into this next slide, because we're going to build on, we're going to be adding on to that. The rest of the portions that you see that have that gray hatch running through them, those elements are going to be demolished. So some of that is parking space right now, and then you can see we're also talking as you get out closer to the highway and Lee Street there. We're looking at the existing Jug Brown Recreation Center, as well as the pool, the old abandoned pool, and some of the maintenance facilities that are existing around those. Those will all be demolished. So keep your eye again there in the center. That purple box, that would be, again, the existing Moose Hope Gymnasium. And so what we're looking to do with this project, again, the primary focus being recreation and aquatics. So the large yellow space, and for everybody to orient, I'm going to zoom into this slide by slide. It's going to get a little bit closer and a little bit more detailed. I just want to help orient you to the site. The large yellow area, that's going to be the new gymnasium space that we're adding on off of that existing in purple Moose Hope Gymnasium space. And then you can see the boulevard that we're creating off of Lee Street that creates a new kind of proud entrance there for the city. As you come in there, that pink space, that pink rectangular space, that would be some recreational administrative functions and offices in there. And then that teal triangular color in the center there, that would be a commons, as we call it, a lobby kind of social activity space that would connect everything. And then the light aqua color, those would be your activity and exercise type rooms. And then the brown spaces around that, those would be your bathrooms, your support spaces, storage, things like that. You'll also notice to the south on the site here, we've got a place for the aquatics portion. And so this first element that's being highlighted, that would be the pool element itself. And then the blue rectangle below that, that would be the support spaces, the building elements that go along with the pool as well. So as we zoom into this a little bit closer, again, again, it's a little blurry when you see them all together. I do want to point out that I'm going to go and break down each of these spaces step by step, but I don't want to overwhelm anybody by jumping from such a big scale to a small scale. So we're going to, again, step one step closer. And this would be the top right of the page there. That would be coming in off of the Lee Street entrance. So this would be the everyday public entrance that you would come in here. So as you come in through that set of double doors, you'll walk into this large lobby space that'd be very open. Again, it's intended to be a very social space that will unite all the different types of functions that we're trying to achieve with this one large building. When you immediately come in, you're greeted with a large roundabout desk there that's informational. Somebody would be working there at all times that could direct you, let you know what time a class may be happening that you're interested in taking. All of those exercise activity spaces, they're off to the left of the page, and you can see we've got a large activity room and a smaller activity room. Those could do functional fitness classes, they could do Zumba, yoga, things like that. And then we've also got this large cardio room that could have all sorts of different cardio exercise equipment in it. That'd be a very, lots of windows, very open to the public type of space, nice views out of there. So all of those are nice and neatly located in one central spot. You can see this little alcove space as you come in right here that would allow you to easily walk in and understand which type of activity you want to do when you come into this space. And then if you carry straight on through, you see that set of double doors down at the bottom of the page. That leads you into the primary gymnasium space with lots of different functions that can take place in there. Off to the top right corner, off of the lobby, that was that area that I mentioned is the recreational administrative spaces. So that's going to have the offices, a couple of private offices, a couple of open flexible workstations, conference room, break room, workroom and reception, bathrooms, all of those elements for the actual Parks and Recreations employees to be in those spaces. That's designed in a way where it's very open and accessible from the Recreation and Aquatic Center itself, but it also has its own separate entrances from the side and things. So if the two ever need to operate with different operational times, there's no problems there. This also, in the bottom right corner, there is a set of double doors that goes out to the pool area that we'll take a look at in a minute as well. Right now, I want to jump to the new gymnasium space, and I'm going to go through a couple of slides here. There's a lot of lines that are shown in this is really just one big open air structure in this space, and there's a lot of lines that are laid out on this. I'm going to go through. It's going to color code and help simplify what each of these lines represent to help you understand the value that you're getting for this space and the amount of functions that you can do in here. So again, when you walk in this space, it's going to be one very large open structure. But we have opportunity. You see all the dotted lines that kind of cut down the middle from top to bottom and side to side. Those give you things like drop-down curtains that have a transparency to them. That allows you to separate courts from each other. So if you're playing basketball and you want to make sure that the ball doesn't bounce into the other court, you can easily separate those types of spaces while it's still being highly visible through those. And so the different layouts that we have right here, this first one that we'll walk through, this would be your setup for basketball. This would be 4 basketball games that could go on at one time. These are full-size regulation basketball courts, large circulation space down the middle that allows you to go to any of those bathrooms or back out to the lobby and concessions out there. Again, it's color-coded right now to give you a sense of where the play court is. And you can also start to see where some of the rollout bleachers would be to allow for spectator seating. And then up against the perimeter around the walls, that's where the coach and player and referee seating is around there. The other option that we have in terms of laying this out, this would be the volleyball setup. So each one of those basketball courts can hold 2 volleyball courts. All of the systems that we'll be using are suspended from overhead. So with the press of a button, you'll be able to change which drop-down curtains come out. It switches the basketball goals go up, the volleyball nets come down, and you move a couple of chairs around, and you can have a totally different tournament or game type event within minutes. So it'll be very easily accessible for all of this. But again, this layout allows you to have 8 full-size volleyball courts running at one time. We also, within that, pickleball is continuing to grow and grow. It's the fastest growing sport in the country right now. And so that would also be laid out in a similar manner to the volleyball courts that you would be able to hold events and tournaments for that as well. And then finally, there's a couple of different things that you're seeing here. But in this top right corner, we didn't spread it out over everything, but it does give you a sense of if you also wanted to drop down the curtains and just enclose off one of the courts, you could set up a stage in the corner, put banquet tables out there, run, exhibitions, program rental space, money-making opportunities for the city. If you choose to do so with that, it would have the infrastructure to support that and do it. And then also in green here, very similar to the basketball court layout, by simply rolling out a couple of indoor soccer goals. You also have 4 indoor soccer courts that you could host games or tournaments for that as well. So again, the point with illustrating all of this is we really want to show you the value that you're getting by building this space. And this is really just the tip of the iceberg. These are your more traditional sports that you're already playing and used to hosting events for in here. These spaces, many other cities, they run all sorts of programs from cheer to gymnastics to archery. All sorts of things can be hosted in here. So again, lots of potential for growth for recreational programs throughout the city. And this is a plan of, I mentioned that existing Moose Hope Gymnasium space. I'm not going to go through for time's sake and show you those color overlays of every one of them again. But the exact same things that we were doing with each of those courts in the main new gymnasium space, we will also be renovating the existing Moose Hope Gymnasium so that it can be used in the exact same way. So you've got a lot of flexibility, and what's really nice about that is, one, the shell of that space is still in good and is intact. So there's $1 that's being saved there by reusing that. We'll upgrade the finishes so it looks no different than the brand new facility that we're adding onto it. And it gives the recreational program a lot of different options for how they adjust this. I'll jump back very quickly just to help illustrate this to the overall plan And so you can see again how this fifth gymnasium court is off to the side from the main floor. What's great about that, it gives you a lot of different opportunities, that whether it's as simple as we're setting up for a big tournament in the premier space, but we still want to make sure we have one court open to the public so that pickup ball can be played in there, you've still got that going on. If you don't have that and you just want to max out, the number of teams that register and pay to come play in a tournament, that's just one more court. That's two more volleyball teams, one more basketball team, whatever it may be. So again, a lot of flexibility in the way that we're laying all of this out. All right, I'll jump back to where I was now. And finally, I'll jump over here. This would be that area I mentioned to the south in the aquatics area. We've got a couple of different things going on in here. These doors to the top left, those lead directly back into that open lobby space that I was showing you earlier. So again, that lobby space is really doing a lot of work in terms of functioning as like the main social connector for all of these different elements. One of the things with the aquatics area that we're really striving to do is to make sure that this is a hybrid pool. And when I say hybrid pool, what I mean there is you can see the dotted lines, that this represents that it would have a deep enough well that you could dive off of a block on one end, and there could be 6 lanes that are broken up into that space, so that would give you some, athletic, recreational swim activities, maybe even opportunities for teams to be able to swim in those spaces. But at the same time, having an element that is at a shallower a depth and that leads into more of a zero entry kiddie type area with splash pad elements around that, and blending those two together so that this is really a space that, again, value-wise is reaching out to all of the citizens in the community, and everybody has the ability to use this space. And so I think there's a lot of potential with the way this pool is being laid out to serve a very large portion of the community. We've also, again, as Barry mentioned, this is just a 60% submittal, so that means we're just barely over halfway in the design process for all of this. So a lot of this is still fluid, and some of the things we're showing you are still somewhat conceptual, such as, these are cabanas that you see scattered around, pool chairs. Those aren't meant to be exact items. We're still working through those things, but they give you a representation of what it could look like from a social sense, that, there could be one day where you've got a team that's doing practice drills out there after school, and on a Saturday and a Sunday, this place could be crowded with all the moms and dads and toddlers in town that are running around and swimming and having a good time. The facility that we're building to support this space that goes along with it, briefly just to touch on the program elements that are in here, in that top left corner, you see more of the administrative type functions that go along with this. That's going to be your lifeguard stations, the director for aquatics, first aid, somebody, busts their head, or something like that, skins a knee, they can go in there and be seen. There's also the back of house elements, the bathroom for the workers, a laundry room to clean equipment and things. And then there would be a concessions area out here, so that if you want to go, buy a little ice cream bar or whatever it may be, a Coke, you can grab those things quickly. Again, a little money-making opportunity for the city there as well. And then as we move down below that, you'll see this large space with the tables and chairs in it. That's called the party or the wet room. That's something, again, as a value and a money-making opportunity for the city. That's something that can be rented out or leased for birthday parties. The family comes in there. You've got the basic kitchenette with, some countertop to lay the birthday cake and the gifts on, as well as a sink to pour the ice and the drinks down the drain when the party's over. And so this would be a space that would flow very openly directly out to that pool area. So again, you could rent things like the cabanas, you could rent the party room, however you see fit with that, but a lot of potential there. And then down on the bottom end of that facility, that's just breaking out some locker storage areas, as well as individual changing stations and restrooms, and just making sure that people have places to clean up before they head home, that type of stuff. So that's just a very quick overview of that. We're going to switch now. I'm going to show you a video animation that walks through this, kind of starts at the front door and loops through this. And again, I'll narrate as we go through this, but I think some of these items that might be a little difficult to read in a plan view will start to make a lot more sense. And I'll throw out the disclaimer as well, that one more time, this is just a 60% submittal. So there are plenty of things that you may see something that there's a countertop in there, and you wonder, why in the world did they make that countertop orange? It doesn't literally mean that the countertop is going to be orange. So don't get hung up on any of those types of things. That's some of just the computer animation until we get the exact materials and things worked out and applied to it. Some color palettes and things will continue to change. The main thing I want you to focus on is the quality of the space and how interconnected everything feels. Here we go. But yeah, and this will loop through all of the primary spaces. Don't worry, we won't be giving you the tour of all the bathrooms and everything. But so again, this is walking in off of Lee Street. Comes right. There we go. Okay. So walking in from the parking lot off of Lee Street there into that main lobby space. And again, the first thing you'll see is we want this to feel very open and very active and very social. It's not just a big blank space. It's the type of space that it has a lot of use in itself. It can be used for summer camp activities. It can be used when there's a basketball tournament. That's where people go and sit and eat lunch in between a game, those types of things. And then as you move into the gymnasium space, you'll start to see those screens, those transparent screens that divide each of the 4 basketball courts, but you can see through them and get a feel for that whole space, and you start to understand how the bleachers and things are laid out, and how you could be watching your team just in this area, but you don't have to worry about the basketball bouncing into the other court. And that's that large, what we call kind of the 4-pack gymnasium that has all of the new stuff in it. And then this transitions into the Moose Hope Gymnasium, which again structurally exists already. But as I mentioned before, you see the interior, the goal would be to make it look completely compatible with the new structure. So if you do run a tournament and you're hosting all 5 courts at once, you want the people in the existing facility to feel like it's of the same quality as that in the new facility. And then this ties around, and this is going to loop back down a corridor that has some infrastructure things such as bathrooms, some locker spaces, vending machines, and it'll come back to the lobby area. You'll see on the left as we go around here, there's a nice large open concession space. There's some little bar areas that you can sit down, eat your snack in between games, and still watch the other teams play. Again, all of this is conceptual in terms of the furniture and things at the moment, but a lot of opportunity that, again, this can be an activity space for the community as well, with the pool tables, ping pong, those types of elements. And now we're going to start to walk outside. This goes out to that end where the pool is. It's going to stay out here for just a minute. We'll kind of loop around, and again, you'll notice the cabanas, the canopies, the spaces that, again, you can rent those out. They can just be open amenities, however you choose to structure that. And then the pool structure building, of course, as that gets continued and further developed, that would tie in with the overall design of the main facility. And again, you can see some of that glass over there on that building that would be that, party classroom, and how that could open up and flow directly into this space. And now we're going to loop back in, and as we go in, it does have to make kind of a hard turn in the animation, so it kind of jogs through the wall a little bit, so I do apologize. But what we're going to do is we're going to turn into the administrative office space now as we go in here. And what you'll start to notice as we go in there again is that it's very open and accessible to the public. There is a reception area right here when you walk in if you're just trying to sign up for the next season of sports. There's some of the private offices as you come in, and then as you make this turn, there's a large open workstation area that could be fitted out with any number of configurations for employees to share and work in that space. Very open, flexible space. And then this glass that you see through here, this is going to turn past the break room and into a meeting and conference room space. And all of these spaces are extremely flexible. They're the types of things that they can be used purely for the administrative functions. But when you're hosting a big tournament and the referees need a separate space to convene, things like that can be used for overflow support as well. So again, we're trying to really maximize that value of what you can do with all of these spaces. So there's never a dead moment, that they're always being actively used, and there's a reason for each of them. And then all of this glass over here gives you a nice visual cue as to what type of activities are going on in the facility. This first space we're going into is kind of what we're calling the large activity room. Again, that would be where you'd run bigger classes like a Zumba or some type of fitness class. We're going to cut and do a little loop here. This will go through a storage space, just where you can store ellipticals, other machines as you're rotating classes, and then into the smaller classroom space. This would be more personal training, yoga, things like that. And then finally, we'll loop around, and this comes back into that large cardio space that I mentioned, that you could have, an assortment of a wide variety of different treadmills, exercise bikes, all of those elements. And so that's a very big building, and that's a lot to fly through and take in. So I'll be happy to go back to any particular spot if you have any questions on that. But I did want to be respectful of time and kind of get through that overview quickly. But again, I'll be happy to talk through any questions. And again, I do just want to iterate one more time. The main goal with all of this was just to make sure that we were doing things that, again, from the value standpoint of this, that they can constantly be used. There's never a time or a season where you walk in the facility and think, what are we doing in this space, or how is it used? Year-round, all day long, there's a lot of opportunity to take advantage of things and provide new amenities for the community. So, but again, that's our 60% submittal. We will be tracking towards in about a month. Around the 1st of July, we'll be tracking towards a 90% submittal, at which time we would like to sit down with the commission and do an in-depth review of each space, kind of not a pre-programmed video, but we can walk through the 3D live and let you really look around and ask questions about things, and have that final opportunity before it turns into a bid set. That bid set would probably be available around the 1st of August in a project bidding in the 1st of September, which would mean construction probably starting around the 1st of October is what we're looking at. And then, of course, as everybody knows, we're in constant communication with the contractors, or the general contractors that would be bidding this project. We want to make sure that in terms of the construction schedule, that we find the right timeline that is a balance of giving you this building as quickly as you can so that you get to take advantage of this great amenity, but at the same time also, not pushing it so quickly that you pay a premium to get it faster than you need to. So I think the minimum we would be looking at, if we started construction in October, and we looked at October of this year and looked at, end of 2023, January 1st of 2024, that would be just over a year of construction. And if it needed to push, depending on what we start seeing with, shipment, product supply dates and things, if it needed to push a little bit into that, I think you'd still be looking at, that's well over a year and a half of construction that would get you into early spring of 2024 being able to use the facility. So, but that's just, again, a very quick overview for a very large project. But I'll turn it over to anyone else for specific questions now.
Any questions?
Very impressive.
Yeah, I think you did a thorough job of painting the picture for us.
Yeah.
These 3D walkthroughs certainly help.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, at 90% for today, for time's sake, we did it as a pre-programmed video, kind of limit to 5 minutes. But at 90%, what we like to do is, bring the computer, hook it up, walk through it live. That way, if you don't like that angle and you want to turn it and look to the left to make sure it does what you wanted it to do. And we've been working with Barry and Billy and Blake on all of that, going through that constantly. So.
All right. Barry, Billy, Blake, any of y'all got anything you think we need to know?
So just a couple things I want to iterate. We were going to move forward with this project, bidding it in a way that we can do it as alternates and try to make this as flexible as we can, not knowing what construction budgets we're looking at. But right now we're still holding on the construction budgets that were submitted in earlier based upon the bid information we have available at this time. So I just want to say that this was another thing that staff asked CC Litchfield to do as far as the 3D walkthrough to get a feel for what it looks like. I think that helps, definitely helps staff. I hope it helps you understand kind of what our vision is for the building and make sure it aligns with what the council and what the mayor desire for this facility at the end. And one of the ideas is once we get through 90%, it goes to bid documents and it gets constructed. You should get the feeling that, hey, I've been here before. I know what I'm getting. when we turn the keys over to you and say it's now the city's facility. So I just want to, for 60% set, this is kind of what I had in mind. Moving forward, we have a 90% set that's coming. That's 90, basically it's 100% unreviewed, and we go through and do the final tweaking. And of course, we've got a lot of work to do between 60 and 90%, working with IT and getting all the communications and site plans and working. There's a lot of work to be done. But, any questions?
Demolition, obviously demolition is going to be outside of the scope of construction, but what's the current schedule on?
So we have decommissioning. Have we set a date, Billy, for decommissioning? Billy stepped out. Yeah, I think he told me mid to late June is when the decommissioning ceremony is for the facility. After we have the decommissioning ceremony, we will move forward into the asbestos and lead and hazardous material removal. And then in-house, we will remove the old rec center to have the site ready for them on the construction schedule that they just proposed to you, basically October 1 start date, to have everything ready to go. Kind of a joint effort using some of the city forces to minimize costs for the project, as well as being ready for the new construction to begin on the same site.
Anybody got anything else? Very good presentation. Thank you all for your work. Very impressive. All right, we've got 3 minutes, so we will we'll have a 3-minute recess and be right back at 6 o'clock for our regular meeting.
Right. We vote at the regular. Well, like I think you vote like where you not like for the rec center. Everybody votes.
About a city election now or state election?
That's your typical site.
We have been moved to Pleasant Ridge.
Oh.
Used to be.
It used to be. I think it's just for we've been using it just for municipal election. Yeah, I think mine is still the Johnson, still Johnson, John's Chapter.
That's how we roll. I could not.
I'm gonna get that stick.
He done did what we still got to do. He done did what we still got to do.
All right, let's get the room back in order. We need to get our 6 o'clock meeting going. present it like that, it kind of eliminates all the questions.
Turner, I'm gonna hold this back of the room in case it's not talking.
You notice using that microphone to closer and hold it to the better the sound is.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've got 6 o'clock. If we could, everybody could take their seat, and we will call this meeting of the Enterprise City Council to order. Let the record show that all council members are present. If you would, please stand with me for our opening prayer and pledge of allegiance. Is Pastor McBride here? You here to pray? Well, if Pastor McBride is not here, you're next up. Reverend White.
Let us pray. Most gracious, eternal Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, again for your blessings. We thank you, God, for smiling upon us. Now, God, as we come to, Lord, to collaborate and work together for the good of our city, continue to smile upon us. Keep all of us in perfect peace. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in pledging allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Council, you should have a copy of the agenda in your packet. As we discussed in the work session prior, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All matters listed within the consent agenda have been distributed to each member of the council for review, are considered to be routine, and will be enacted by one motion of the city council with no separate discussion. If separate discussion is desired on an item, that item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda by request of a member of the city council. I'll now call for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mayor Cooper, you've got a proclamation.
Come on down, bro.
We have a proclamation here. This is for National Police Week and Emergency Medical Service Week. It says, whereas the Enterprise Police Department and the Enterprise Fire Department provide continuous services to the citizens of the city of Enterprise, and whereas the Enterprise Police Department has a force of 52 officers with 24 employees who assist them in their mission to enforce laws, maintain public order, who provide protection and manage public safety. The Enterprise Fire Department answered more than 43,000 calls to help the services in 2021, and whereas there are more than 800,000 law enforcement officers serving across the United States, more than 23,000 have made the ultimate sacrifice and been killed in the line of duty. And whereas the emergency medical services system consists of police officers, firefighters, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency dispatchers, first responders, to name a few, and whereas the 49 firefighters with 8 certified paramedics, 5 certified in advanced life support, and 34 emergency medical technicians who engage in thousands of hours of specialized training per year are ready to provide life-saving care to those who need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They answer more than 2,500 calls for medical services in 2021. And whereas the United States has more than about 30,000 fire departments, and the Enterprise Fire Department is one of only about 9,000 which offer emergency medical services. And studies show that access to quality emergency and care dramatically improves the survival and necessary recovery of those who experience sudden illness or injuries. And whereas this week has been set aside by the National Law Enforcement and EMS professional organizations to emphasize the value and the culturalness of our police department and emergency medical service providers. The observance gives us a special opportunity to express our unwavering support and gratitude and to our pride in the dedicated personnel who has answered the call to serve their fellow man despite the danger and the sacrifice we sometimes present. Now therefore I, William Cooper Sr., Mayor of the City of Enterprise, Alabama, do hereby proclaim the week of May 15th through May 21st, 2022 as National Police Week and Emergency Medical Service Week. In the city of Enterprise, do hereby urge all citizens to join in the observance of this week with appropriate expression of thanks, program, or other activity given on this day of May in the city of Enterprise, Alabama. Thank you for your services. Thank you for your service. Okay. This is the extra mile award for Officer Frank Clark. In April of this year, Officer Frank Clark was called to an animal grooming business in reference to a citizen needing assistance with an injured animal. Upon arriving and speaking with the owner, Officer Clark perceived she was distraught because of the citizen's love of all animals. Officer Clark went far and above to call of duty and remove the deceased possum for the citizen and then help rescue the live babies. Officer Clark showed great compassion, and the business owner who was so appreciative that she called Officer Clark the division commander. Officer Clark, the city council, and I commend you for your outstanding ability and remarkable attention that you give to our citizens and your willingness to go the extra mile to help them. We are proud to have such an outstanding individual representing our Enterprise Police Department. And this flag reads, the Extra Mile Award presented to Officer Frank Clark by the Mayor and the City Council, Enterprise, Alabama, for going above and be on your duties in assisting the citizens of Enterprise. Signed by Michael Moore, Chief of Police, William E. Cooper, Mayor, May 17, 2022. To Chief and the rest of the department, anytime that we can do such as this, when we look around to see what's going on all over the United States, and to have a police department and have a fire department that are so active in trying to make sure that our citizens get the protection they have. We have one of the best police and fire departments that you can find anywhere. So again, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, who serve in those positions for the good job that you're doing. All right.
All right, thank you, Mayor, Chief, and certainly to all of our first responders. That's police, fire, EMS. Certainly much deserved recognition. So we now have a permit request from John's Chapel AME regarding their Juneteenth parade. Council, you should have a permit request in your packet that you've had available for review. So I'll now recognize Nicole Nichols, representing John's Chapel AME Church, who has requested to address the council to obtain a parade permit for Saturday, June 18th, 2022, from 12 p.m. until 12:45. The parade will kick off the Juneteenth festivities and program that will be held at the church that afternoon.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Nicole Nichols, and this is our pastor, our beloved pastor, Willie White Jr. And I'm just going to hit 4 points on our Juneteenth. This is our third year having a celebration of Juneteenth, and what would be a parade to take place on Main Street, beginning at the Downtown Donuts and ending at Riverbank and Trust. The parade will consist of program participants, business vendors, and church members. When this would take place would be June 18th, 2022. The parade will begin at 12 p.m. and end approximately at 12:45. And then our why, our biggest reason why. Again, this will be our third year celebrating Juneteenth in the city of Enterprise. Juneteenth is a federal holiday that celebrates the emancipation of enslaved African Americans. It began in Galveston, Texas on June 19, 1865, and was recognized as a federal holiday on June 17, 2021. Each year, more people are becoming aware of what Juneteenth symbolizes and why it is important to celebrate and acknowledge it. The parade will kick off the celebration that will continue to be held at John's Chapel AME Church after the parade commences. We have a guest speaker, Reverend Eddie Thomas. We will also have music, business vendors, and food vendors, and activities for the children after the parade. And so we would like to ask for the permit to start this out.
Does anybody have any questions? Chief, been reviewed, good to go?
We're already talking about getting Aldot, make sure it's on the list, but I think we should be good at everything. So there won't be an issue with us.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, obviously, anything we approve will be contingent upon Aldot approval. So, any other issues? All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the request.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank
All
y'all.
right, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yes!
All right, we're moving on to the privilege of the floor. This is the time of the meeting that any members of the public that are present and wish to address the council may do so. We've asked to limit those to 3 minutes each. And so is there anyone here that wishes to address the council? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to staff reports. Any additional staff reports? Mr. Tellis?
council and mayor. One of the things that I sent out this morning to you was that staff had received word from AlDOT about Main Street resurfacing. So just wanted to bring that here before you in the public. It looks like the first week of June that on Plaza Drive area, which is still part of our Main Street area, AlDOT will anticipate starting repaving that section and then move into the rest of Main Street, basically from bypass to bypass. So we anticipate right now it's subject to change and AlDOT's approval, but the first week of June that work to be starting. They're going to do it at night. That's their plan right now, just to work during the night, and then during the day be business as usual. So any questions or?
I think we're ready for it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Any other staff reports? Seeing none, we'll move on to old business, of which we have none. So we'll move on to new business. Just got a few items here of new business. We'll now review and consider Resolution 051722, which is to authorize the emergency purchase of police cars as discussed in our work session prior to this meeting. So I'll now introduce and call for consideration of Resolution 051722, providing for the declaration of an emergency affecting public health, safety, or convenience relating to the current shortage of available new police vehicles on the market due to the apparent lasting effects of the pandemic, problems with the supply chain, and the resulting shortage of car chips. The resolution declares an emergency for these reasons and further authorizes the police chief to immediately purchase two 2022 Ford Police Interceptor utility SUV vehicles from Allen Vigil Ford Lincoln Incorporated at a total cost of $70,808. Do I hear a motion to approve this request?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we'll now authorize the mayor to execute a stopple letter in the assignment of lease. So I call for a motion to approve the mayor on behalf of the City of Enterprise to execute an assignment of ground lease and a stopple letter related to real property the city currently leases to Brightwater Aviation Properties, LLC, where Arista Aviation is located. Upon motion made and duly seconded and passed, such approval shall be granted, contingent upon final review and approval of the documents by the mayor, city administrator, and city attorney. Do I hear a motion to approve this request?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll now authorize the mayor to execute the memorandum of agreement with Main Street, Alabama. I call for a motion to authorize the mayor to execute a memorandum of agreement between the City of Enterprise and Main Street, Alabama for the city's participation in the Main Street program. The term of the agreement is for 1 year, beginning June 1st, 2022, and ending on May 31st, 2023. Do I hear a motion to authorize the mayor to execute this agreement?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mayor, you have a report?
Thank you, Mr. President. Parks and Recreation, youth baseball and softball games begin May 20th. All-Star tournaments begin June 9th. Tournaments events hosted April 16th. Travel Ball USA Baseball Tournament, 25 teams. April 30th, USFA Softball Tournament, 20+ teams. May 14th, ARPA State Track and Field, 544 athletes to compete. We have several to win medals. Enterprise came in first as the overall team point. Upcoming tournaments and events, June 3rd and 4th, All-Star Jamboree. June 4th, Disc Golf Tournament with 100 participants. June 19th through 14th, hosting the Dixie Youth 6 and under Coach Pigeon District Tournament. June 11th, Alabama Sports Foundation State Game. We are hosting the track and field, baton twirling, indoor air rifle shooting, and outdoor grass volleyball. July 8th, Dixie Youth 8 and under Coach Pitch State Tournament. July 15th, Dixie Youth 12 and under Ozone State Tournament. Special programs and events. Weight Watchers meet on Wednesday at 9 a.m. at Farmers Market. Senior acrobatics meet on Tuesday we have about 40 participants. Fishing at the Enterprise Recreational Complex Senior Citizens is the first and third Friday of each month, and public fishing is the third Saturday of each month. This is for the big pond only. Zumba classes are doing really well with over 40 participants. They meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays at the Civic Center. All in credit union sales overall went well, and they funded over $4 million of loans. Festival in the park was a huge success. Engineering permits approved. Single family detached 43, 11,067,000. Single family detached. Residential additions 28, 642,294. New commercials $1,547,750. Commercial additions $2,536,250. Nuisance property investigated 18. Verbal 2. Notifications mailed 8. Properties without progress 4. Properties mitigated 4. Mitigation in progress 2. Water Department. There were 48 new construction water meter services installed in the month of April. The new bypass tank is about 90% complete. Civic Center Farmers Market. For the month of April, Farmers Market kickoff was a huge success. Watermelon Day at the Farmers Market is set for June 25th. That is my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mayor. Sonia?
Good to see everyone tonight. Thanks for coming out. And our presentations that we had tonight were very impressive. So I want to thank those that presented on our projects, as well as our LDOT project going on with the roundabout. And thank you to our police, fire, and our EMS services that we get to our city. We appreciate you all. Thanks for coming.
Eugene?
I'd like to thank everybody for coming also, and I think every week ought to be police and EMS week. We thank our officers and our people for what they do. For you or those who are not here during our work session, we had something very new tonight, a big double screen that could be seen from both sides. The technology, the presentation was excellent, so whoever was responsible for this, thank you.
Greg? Good to see everyone tonight. Also like to say how much we appreciate the police, fire, and EMS, and you don't get enough recognition for all the hard work you do keeping us safe and taking care of the citizens of this city. Also like to chime in that the presentations that were given tonight were very impressive, and very excited about the future of Enterprise and the new facilities being built, and even the roundabout. I know that has mixed emotions from a lot of people, but I think it's going to be a great thing for controlling traffic on that intersection there.
And also, thank you for coming tonight, and I'd like to thank all our citizens that view us every council meeting online. Thank you again. Yeah, the briefings were awesome. Raleigh and TJ, thank you for doing such an outstanding job, and Barry, thank you for setting up the screen. And Officer Clark, congratulations to him. And I've got a good connection with our first responders because as a coordinator for the Coffee County Community Emergency Response Team, the CERT program, I work with those ladies and gentlemen every day, or not every day, but almost every day out there. I get great support out of Chief Davis for our CERT program. We just finished a class this last weekend, hands-on training coming up Saturday. His folks will be there Saturday morning to help us with lifts and carries, but you just can't thank them enough, and echo the mayor when he said we got the best fire department and police department, not only in Alabama, but the United States. And it's just a pleasure to walk these halls and talk to these young folks, and even a couple of the old folks like the chief. I'll tease him about that. But thank you, and God bless.
Yeah, certainly ditto everything that was said. It'd be impossible to thank our first responders enough. So thank you again. Do want to remind everybody that I have a town hall meeting. I'm the District 5 representative, but it's open to anybody next Monday, May 23rd at 6 o'clock at the Farmers Market. So if anybody wants to come and have some dialogue with me, that'll be next Monday, 6 o'clock at the farmer's market. We are adjourned. Thank you.